12,
You sure?
No.
2022.
Try now.
I didn't.
No, he doesn't need one of those. He shares off of this one.
So you need to allow me to share.
I thought I allowed you to share already.
Not yet.
It says all participants can share. Okay, then we stop the share and see if you can then. Can you share now?
Yeah.
Okay, so as I said, the first application this evening we have is for a conditional use, and it is number 12 of 2022 on St. Peter's Road, and I will ask the planner to please go ahead and give us the information on that one.
The mayor will have to open the public hearing for
Oh,
conditional use.
sorry, yes.
Resolve the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for conditional use 12 of 2022.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Boulanger, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, Femi, if you want to go ahead, please.
Good evening, council members. So the first item on the agenda is the conditional use approval, CU 12, 2022 on St. Peter's Road, road number 415500. The proposal is to allow a mobile home on a property zone RS, suburban residential. Under Table 13 of the St. Clement zoning bylaw, a mobile home requires a conditional use approval in the RA zone. The applicant's intention is to live in the mobile home until a future single-family residential is constructed. The map you're looking at shows the subject site and the surrounding context. That's the subject site plan that shows the location of the proposed mobile home. Should council wish to approve this conditional use, RRPD recommend three conditions as listed. Number one, that the mobile should be allowed as proposed, obtain all required permits, and applicant owner obtain all necessary permits from Manitoba Infrastructure and Transportation to facilitate access to site. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Any questions from members of council to the planner? Is the applicant in the audience this evening?
Yes, I am.
Do you have anything that you want to add at this point to your application?
Not really, I think everything's said. Just looking to place the mobile home on the property
Okay.
to build a house.
Okay, any questions of the applicant at this point? Go ahead, Councillor Strang, and then Councillor Sutherland.
I just have one question. When is your date for your home, or you have one in, do you have a builder, or do you have an RTM coming in?
Looking to build it myself as much as I can, obviously hiring trades after that if I can. But plans are either to start this year or the next spring.
Thank you.
Councillor Sutherland.
That was my question.
Okay. Okay, any other questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
The applicant's letter talks about a mobile or modular home. Have you made a decision on what you're going to put there?
Yes, it will be a mobile home.
Thank you.
Okay, a couple of questions. how long do you intend on having that mobile home there?
The process will take a couple of years until, if I start next spring, so it'll probably take a year or a little more than that, so. Hard to say, but it won't be more than 3-4 years. That's the intent, to complete as soon as possible.
Okay, and I guess my second question is, have you made application for a building permit for the home already?
Not yet.
Okay, because I know past practice in this municipality has been that if you have a building permit for your home, we would consider the conditional use for the mobile home. This way, if we say okay to the mobile home, and we don't put any sort of a time limit or anything on it, I don't know that a mobile home, first of all, is allowed in that area, and how long it would be there if you don't have your building permit for your home. So, go ahead, Femi.
So the subject property is on area which is suburban residential, and a mobile home is a permitted use, but as a container use. That is why the applicant is here.
Okay. Any other questions for the members of the council? Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
Can I go back to the plan?
Sure.
Thank you. So I'm just wondering about, it says here that the mobile home has to meet a certain code or one that was in place at the time of construction. So is there going to be an inspection done of this mobile home before it's placed by the planning board to make sure that it meets the requirements? Like, I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but hypothetically, how do we know that a mobile home from 1968 is going that doesn't meet current code?
I can assure you it's a 2015 mobile home, so it will meet current codes.
Okay, thank you for that. I think there are a couple of other people that want to speak on this, and the first one I have is an M&T Peter.
We just came for information.
For information, okay, thank you. And what about Robert Hunt? I don't know. There are a few people outside. Heather's going to check if he's outside. And I will ask, I see we do have a few people on Zoom. Is there anybody that is attending via Zoom that would like to speak to conditional use application number 12 of 2022? Okay, it doesn't appear that Mr. Hunt is here. Is there anybody else in the audience who didn't have an opportunity to sign in and would like to speak on this application? What is the wish of council? Deal with it? Okay, I will ask then our CAO to close the public hearing.
Can I ask one more question?
Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
So if we're planning to put a time limit on this is a process question, we put whatever time limit we decide on. what's the opportunity for extension under conditional use?
The applicant will be able to extend, ordinarily it's supposed to be for 12 months, but the applicant will be able to extend for another 12 months, and that will be after the initial period of maybe, I don't know, what the council will decide. So the applicant will have the opportunity to extend for another 12 months thereafter. But that application for extension must be made before the expiration of the first one.
Just a correction or question, for the planner, are you suggesting that you're recommending a 12-month approval?
No, I'm saying that based on the question that Councilor just asked me, if you put a timeline on that, maybe it's 5 years or 10 years, the applicant can make another application to extend that with another 12 months thereafter.
Okay, so council could approve it for 12 months and they would have another 12 months in order to get a permit. And once a permit has been received, they can keep a mobile home until the house is being built.
Yeah. So another thing is, if council decides to put maybe 4 years this evening, the applicant can come back for an extension of another 12 months. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, but if council only approved it for 12 months, as an example,
Okay.
for a different amount, the applicant has another 12 months
Correct.
to get, so that gives the applicant up to 2 years.
Correct.
And if the applicant is saying they're going to get a permit within 2 years, when they get a permit, they're allowed to have a mobile home on the site while the building is being constructed by right.
Correct. The way it can be worded is such that the timing on the conditional use will not kick in until permits have been taken.
Okay, before you read the resolution, Councillor Strang, go ahead.
So continuing on your topic here with the timeline, after the 12 months, so they get a permit, and is it still, it just extends every 12 months, or is there a timeline until the house is built?
Once they get an approval for a permit, or once they make an application for a permit, once they get a permit, then the permit gives them specific timelines, usually a year, to construct, and they can ask for extensions from Red River Planning.
And then that has to come off the property,
What has to come up?
the mobile home?
The mobile home has to be off the property once the final building permit has been complete. So while it's under construction, they can have the mobile home on there. So theoretically, if the council wanted to, they could approve for a conditional use for 1 year, asking the applicant to get a building permit. Once the building permit has been received, then the applicant can keep the mobile home on the property until the building is complete. And the extensions for the building permit are directly through Red River. If there's no progress at all happening, then Red River can.
The first guy ever.
Okay, I have a couple more questions from council. Go ahead, Councillor Spicer, and then Councillor Belanger.
Mine's an easy process question. So do we need to put in the approval resolution that the mobile home has to leave when the house has been built? Or is that automatic?
That's
It's
automatic,
automatic.
Okay,
because
thank
you're
you.
not allowed to have 2 dwellings on the property.
Good, thanks.
And go ahead, Councillor Belanger.
Do we know how long the applicant is wanting the mobile home on the property for? Did he say within a year he's planning to build? I didn't quite catch what.
Go ahead and let us know again how long you're planning to have.
Hoping to
the
start
mobile
this
home.
fall. If not this fall, then obviously next spring. So this is my plan. Again, with the move of the mobile home, I'm gonna have enough to do. Obviously, well, septic, everything has to be in. So that might keep me busy till the end of the year. I won't be able to in winter, so probably if I can't make it this year, I'll definitely start next year.
Okay, then that leads me to another question. If you have your mobile home on there and you're going to, of course, have a well and a septic system, are you going to build your house in such a manner that it can hook into the system that you
Yes.
have with the mobile home?
Yes.
Because I don't know that council of the day would want to have 2 dwellings on the same property. It's not allowed, and even if you came for a variation or a conditional use for that. We don't know who's gonna be sitting here in a couple of years, so I don't know that that would be allowed either.
Yeah, well, that's not the plan. We're planning to build a house and have the house on the property.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything else, council? Okay, I don't believe that there's anything else on Zoom, so we'll go ahead and read a resolution to come out of the public hearing.
Resolve the public hearing for conditional use 12 of 2022 be closed and the regular session council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Bazarowicz, Councilor Spicer seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so we do have a resolution for the conditional use, and I guess the only question I would ask before it's read is, does council want to put a time frame on there for that mobile home? Okay, I'm going to ask you to, do you have a timeline in there? What is the timeline that you are looking for? 2 years? 2 years?
2 years, yes. All right.
24 months?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 415500, a property legally described as lot 29, plan 2726, and located at St. Peter's Road, has made application for conditional use 12 of 2022 in order to allow a mobile home to be constructed on the subject property. Therefore, be it resolved, conditional use application number 12 of 2022 be approved with the following conditions. The conditional use number 1, the conditional use approval is limited to allow a mobile home as proposed within this application. Any changes in use may require a new conditional use approval. 2, the applicant owner obtains all permits from Red River Planning District. 3, the applicant owner obtains all necessary permits from Manitoba Infrastructure and Transportation to facilitate access to site. 4, mobile home not be placed on property until applicant has applied for a building permit for a single-family dwelling, and mobile home will be removed once single-family dwelling has been constructed, and approval shall expire if not acted upon within 24 months of date of making. Or 12 months, sorry. And I think we need to add one more item in here, which is number 5. The conditional use is, number 5, conditional use approval is for 24 months.
Okay, before I call for a mover and a seconder on condition number 4, that it not be placed until a building permit is applied for, does council want to leave that in? I don't know that that was the intention of the applicant. Can you clarify that for us?
Sorry, can you repeat?
One of the conditions in the resolution is saying that the mobile home not to be placed on property until applicant has applied for a building permit for a single-family dwelling, and mobile home will be removed once single-family dwelling has been constructed. Were you going to apply for your building permit for your home prior to putting the mobile home on site?
Well, the plans are being drafted right now. I kind of do have a problem with that because the plans aren't quite ready for application, and I sold my property, so I have to be out of my house by September 1st. So that kind of puts me in a difficult situation.
Okay,
Hope for your understanding.
Yeah, what is the wish of council? Can we take that number 4 out and replace it with the one that we've talked about where
24 months.
24 months, mobile home will be there?
That's fine.
So let me read the 4 conditions again. Number 1, conditional use approval is limited to allow mobile home as proposed within this application. Any changes in use may require a new conditional use approval. 2, applicant owner obtains all permits from Red River Planning District. 3, the applicant owner obtains all necessary permits from Manitoba Infrastructure and Transportation to facilitate access to site. 4, the conditional use approval is allowed for only 24 months. And then approval shall expire if not acted upon within 12 months of the date of making.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councillor Borges, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any further discussion on this? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, the next application we have on our docket tonight is variation order number 45 of 2022. And with that, I will ask for a resolution to go into the public hearing, please.
Resolve the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for variation order 45 of 2022.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Spicer seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, carried. And Femi, if you could walk us through this one, please.
The variance application of VO 45 2022 is at 439 Church Road South, road number 5350. The intent of this application is to permit a 2,400 square foot maximum with a height of 22 feet maximum accessory structure on the property zone AR, agricultural restricted. The table you're looking at is what is called the variance table. In the AR zone, the maximum allowed accessory structure is 1,280 square feet. The applicant is proposing 2,400 square feet max. And in the AR zone also, the max height of accessory structure as per the zoning bylaw is 20 feet. The applicant is proposing 22 feet. The map shows the subject site and the surrounding context. That is subject site plan as submitted to RRPD. Should council wish to approve the subject application, RRPD is proposing 3 conditions as listed. That ends my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any questions to the planner from members of council? Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
So in your report, you talk about this being vacant land, but they have taken out a single-family dwelling permit? Is that correct?
That's correct. I saw that that's the structure going on there.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the planner? Okay, is the applicant in the audience this evening? Do you have anything that you want to add, Mr. Hillhouse?
In his submission, he states there's no other similar buildings within 100 meters. There is actually within 200 meters on 447 Wally, there is a 40 by 60 recently built shop that actually has a 24-foot mean height to accommodate 16-foot doors. The guy operates a dump truck business out of there. My plan for this is strictly for my classic cars. I have a shop where I work and I'm under a lease until 2025 for my business, so there's not going to be any business running out of there. It's basically, after my divorce, I've got to put all my toys somewhere.
She didn't take it.
So hopefully there's a little sympathy for me there.
I guess I do have a question for you, and I think the planner alluded to it. You've taken out a building permit for a home on this property?
We've actually poured the basement floor already today. The walls have been up for 3 weeks, and the framer starts Wednesday or Thursday to start putting up the walls.
Okay, because that was my question, because when I looked at the GIS map, it's vacant land, and I thought we can't have a big accessory building like that and no vacant.
When I received the package from planning, I did email them back and told them what was where we were in the construction stage.
Okay, thank you for that. Any members of council have questions for the applicant? Okay, is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to speak on variation order number 45 of 2022 on Church Road South?
Yeah, I do have a comment.
Sure, go ahead. Can you just state your name for the record, please?
Yeah, my name's Chris Hebert.
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just kind of concerned about, the size and the purpose of this shop that's going to be, or building that's going to be going there. It doesn't really suit the characteristics of the neighborhood. And, we were kind of thinking that this was going to be a quiet residential neighborhood, to kind of raise a family. But this type of building would lean more towards a commercial and industrial type of use that would probably bring down the value of the property surrounding it. So,
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else on Zoom that wishes to speak on this application? Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak on this application? Okay, I'm just trying to see here. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Hillhouse.
Yeah, if I may, there is, if you drive up and down Church Road, 181 Church Road has a similar size shop, a little bit lower mean height. I believe theirs is around 2,000 or 2,100 square feet. And the whole general area between Ludwig Road, Rebec, in that whole general area, there's many buildings, accessory buildings, situated on lands where guys are either doing, they're running commercial businesses out of there, or they have, personal items like what I'm trying to do here. I also have a 36-foot Class A motorhome, which has about a 12-foot height. So I need the height, and I need to be able to get my motorhome in there as well. And the general design of the building, it's going to be like a red style barn style building through Olympic Homes, metal clad building. So it will fit in with the general area. And even if you go up and down Wally, there's a quick drive up there today. There was 5 or 6 other shops, a little smaller, but I think the one that's within 200 meters of where I'm looking to build my shop, there's one that's larger, and he is running a commercial business out of there.
Okay, thank you for that. Any further questions from council to the applicant? And I'm just going to ask once more if there is anybody in the audience who wants to speak on variation order number 45 of 2022 on Church Road South. Okay, I am not seeing anybody, so I will ask for a resolution to close the public hearing, and we can proceed, please.
Resolve the public hearing for variation order 45 of 2022 be closed and the regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Horbus, Councilor Strang, seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? And if council is ready to proceed, I will ask the CAO to please read the resolution for variation order 45 of 2022.
Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 5350, legally described as Lot 4, Plan 66176, and located at 439 Church Road South, has made application for variation order number 45 of 2022 from unit area for proposed accessory building 1,280 square feet maximum to unit area for proposed accessory building 2,400 square feet maximum. Purpose to allow 2,400 square foot detached garage. Therefore be it resolved, the variation order 45 of 2022 be approved with the following conditions. Just a correction, wasn't there a height requirement as well?
Yes,
Okay.
22 instead of 20.
was missed here. Hang on a second. Same variance needs two components on it. Okay, so just trying to get both those things working at the same time. It's going to be a big challenge for me. Okay, 20 feet to 22 maximum, okay. So, resolution 45. Okay, so let me start off. From unit area for proposed accessory building, 1,280 square feet maximum, to unit area proposed accessory building, 2,400 square feet maximum. From height of 20 feet maximum to height of 22 feet maximum. Purpose to allow 2,400 square foot detached garage. Therefore, be it resolved, variation order 45 of 2022 be approved with the following conditions. The variance is limited to a minimum unit area of 2,400 square feet maximum for the proposed garage with a maximum mean height of 22 feet maximum as presented in this application. Any further changes, replacements, or additions require new variance approval. 2, applicant or owner obtain all required permits from Red River Planning District. 3, the use of the proposed garage is for personal use only and not to be used as a habitable space. This order shall expire if not acted upon within 12 months of the date of making.
Okay, can I have a mover, please? Councilor Bazarowicz, Councilor Boulanger, second. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Spicer.
So in the future, hypothetically, if this building got started to be used as commercial, that would be in contravention of the variance, so there'd be bylaw enforcement?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a mover, I have a seconder. Any other questions? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, the next application we have this evening is variation order number 61 of 2022. Yes, Councilor Strang?
I will declare conflict.
Thank you.
Resolve the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be opened for variation order 61 of 2022.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Bazarowicz, Councilor Borda seconds, discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, Femi, if you want to go ahead with this one.
Since the internet is
Something now.
yeah, so the next item on the agenda is a variance application BO 61 2022, 5050 River Road, road number 14410. The intent of this application is to reduce the one side area within the area restricted zone for 8 proposed lots. This is part of the conditions of approval for the subdivision application X212910. That is the variance request table. It shows what is subject site is zone, is zone AR, and under that zone, the minimum lot area is 4 acres. And on the right hand side, these are the proposed plus 1 to 8, and what is being proposed. Minimum lot area of between 2 and 2.006 acres. That is subject site that shows the subject area and the surrounding area. This site plan shows the subdivision plan submitted by the applicant in 2010 when the subdivision was approved. The council wish to approve this variance. RPD is recommending just 2 conditions. Number 1 is that the variance be limited to what is proposed in the application, that is the lot sizes. And number 2, obtain all required permits from RPD. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Femi. Any questions to the planner from members of council? Okay, I do see that the applicant is on Zoom, so Mr. Strang, do you have anything that you want to add to your application at this point?
No, Madam Mayor, I think the planner did a very good job explaining it.
Thank you. Questions from council to the applicant? Okay, I do not have any names on my list, but I will ask, seeing as there are a number of people in the audience, is there anybody in the audience who wants to speak to variation order number 61 of 2022 at 5050 Rebec Road? Okay, if council is ready to proceed, I will ask for, oh, okay. There was one letter received, and all of council does have it in their packages. And I'm not sure if we're wanting to read it or just accept it as part of the package. Mr. Administrator?
It's up to you, Madam Mayor. If council's read it, it's been put into the public record. If you'd like, I can read the letter.
I think because we've all had it in our packages for a few days now, it did come, I will tell you who it did come from because it is in the public record. It did come from Andy Hill, and I don't believe at this point in time that there is a requirement that it needs to be read into the minutes if we've all had a copy of it. So having said that, and there's no one else that wants to speak to this application, I will ask for a resolution to close the public hearing on variation order number 61 of 2022.
Resolve the public hearing for variation order 61 of 2022 be closed and the regular session of council be reconvened.
Madam Mover, please. Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Spicer seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, carried. And if we can have the resolution for these variation orders.
Whereas the applicant owner tax roll number 14410 legally described as Part RL 229 Plan 2711 and located at 5050 Rebec Road has made an application for variation order number 61-2022 from site area 4 acres to site area lot 1, 2 acres minimum. Lot 2, 2.05 acres minimum. Lot 3, 2.62 acres minimum. Lot 4, 2.032 acres minimum. Lot 5, 2.032 acres minimum. Lot 6, 2.034 acres minimum. Lot 7, 2.034 acres minimum. Lot 8, 2.006 acres minimum. Purpose to allow reduced minimum site areas for proposed lots 1 to 8 for a conditionally approved subdivision application S21-2910. Therefore, be it resolved, variation order 61 of 2022 be approved with the following conditions. These variances are for the approval of the site area minimums as presented in this application. Any further changes will require new variance approval. 2, applicant owner obtains all required permits from Red River Planning District. 3, and this order shall expire if not acted upon within 12 months of the date of making.
Can I have a move, please? Councillor Orbis, Councillor Vazzaroli seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Okay, the next application we have is variation order number 65 of 2022 on Peltz Drive. And Femi, if you could take us through that one, please. Oh, sorry.
Resolve,
Resolution for public hearing, please.
resolve the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for variation over 65 of 2022.
Now the mover, please. Councillor Horvis, Councillor Strang seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, carried. We'll try this again. Go ahead, Femi.
My internet is gone.
Yeah, mine too.
Can I just read?
Yeah, and you might have to just speak up a little bit if you're not going to have the screen in front of you.
Let me see if I can bring it up.
Okay.
I don't have your presentation ready, so
Can I send it to you?
you just sent it to me
No, not yet.
by email.
Yeah.
Still haven't received it. Have we lost network connection?
Yeah, I think that was connection.
Yeah, then the email's not going to work. Here you go.
Back to the paper.
Back to the.
No, I have it here.
Oh, you did. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, this will be a challenge. You're up.
Call IT.
Who's working now?
It's working. Do you want to allow me again? Yeah. Deeper?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm working on it. There we go. do this, I have to get the screen thing working again, so just wait, there we go.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll start again. This is variation order number 65 of 2022, and Femi, if you want to go ahead, please.
Yes, event item is a variance order 65-2022 at the 24 Plus Drive, road number 403760. Intent is to permit the construction of a 2,880 square feet maximum accessory structure in the property zone AR, agricultural restricted. What you're looking at is what is called the variance request table. In the AR zone, the maximum allowed access structure is 1,280 maximum. The applicant is proposing 2080 maximum. That is subject site, the mapping showing the surrounding context and the area. And that's the applicant's site plan that shows the location of the existing single family house on the lot and the location of the proposed accessory structure. These are different elevations as submitted by the applicant. It shows both the front and the side elevation of the proposed accessory structure. Should council wish to approve the subject variance application, three conditions have been proposed by the RFP as listed. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much for that, Femi. Any questions to the planner from members of council? Okay, is the applicant in the audience this evening? Have you anything further that you want to add to your application at this point?
No.
Okay, any questions from council to the applicant? Okay, I don't have any other names on my list, but I will ask. As I said earlier, there are a number of people in the audience here. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak on variation order number 65 of 2022 on Peltz Drive? I'm not seeing any hands go up, so if council is ready to deal with, go ahead, Councillor Sutherland, sorry.
One question, I was trying to look at the Kent, coming up. What is the distance from the property line, really? Is it in?
On the south side?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see the.
Femi, do you have a distance on the, from the building to the property line on the south side?
Just give me 1 second.
I think it says 16 feet.
Yes, it says 16, but I just want to quickly double check that.
And the planner's report identifies 16 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all in compliance with the.
Yes, it complies with the side yard.
Yes, okay, I just couldn't.
And that is why there's no variance for that side yard.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there anybody on Zoom who is wishing to speak on application number 65 of 2022 in the name of Massey? Okay, if council is ready to deal with it, I will ask for a resolution to come out of the public hearing.
Resolve the public hearing for variation order 65 of 2022 be closed and the regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazarowicz, Councillor Spicer seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, resolution for the variation.
Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 403760 legally described as Lot 11 Plan 19613 and located at 24 Peltz Drive has made application for variation order number 65 of 2022 from maximum unit size of 1,280 square feet maximum to maximum unit size of 1,200 or 2,080 square feet. Purpose to allow a detached accessory structure. Therefore, be it resolved, variation order 65 of 2022 be approved with the following conditions. This variance is limited to a minimum unit area of 2,080 square feet maximum for the proposed garage as presented in this application. Any further changes, replacement, or additions would require a new variation approval. 2, applicant owner obtain All required permits from Red River Planning District. 3, the use of the proposed garage is for personal use only and not to be used as habitable space. This order shall expire if not acted upon within 12 months of the day of making.
Now, mover please, Councillor Horbus, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, the next, I guess we're moving on. We do have a subdivision next, and it is subdivision file number S22, or S22-2955. And if we can have a resolution to move into that public hearing.
Resolved, the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for S22-2955.
Now, mover please. Councillor Strang, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, that is carried. Do you want to go ahead, Femi?
The next item is a subdivision application with an unaddressed parcel, and another one, 802 Ferry Road, road number 439-100, 439-250. The intent of this proposal is to subdivide the existing titles to create 21 proposed lots, varying sizes between 0.335 acres and 2 acres within the area suburban residential zone, including a cul-de-sac to serve the proposed lots. The map shows the subject site and the surrounding context. This is the applicant subdivision map as submitted to RRPD.
Just one moment, Femi. Can you please ask those people what they're here to speak to?
Barry and Eleanor, what are you here to speak for? Which item on the agenda? You're muted at this point.
Yes, okay. Sorry about that, Femi. Keep going. If they start talking.
The map shows
Barry and Eleanor, do you have something to say? This is a public hearing. Which item are you here for? Barry and Eleanor on
the subdivision on Pioneer Road.
Okay, that's not on yet, so please keep yourself muted until then, please. Thank you.
Shall do.
Okay, go ahead, Femi. Sorry about that.
The subdivision map on the board shows the subdivision application map as submitted, showing the different lots, 21 lots. And then this is the lots table that shows different lots and the requirements. The subject property is on RS, which is service residential, and almost all the lot meets both the lot width and the lot area, except for lot 12 that requires a lot width. RRPD analysis, there was an associated using application that was dealt with last time on May 24th year, which was approved by council. The proposed lot sizes and width fits better under the new RS zone. In lot width variance is required only for proposed lot 4. Commenting agencies generally note no concerns with the proposed subdivision. RRPD is recommending approval subject to 7 conditions as listed there on the board. That is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Femi. Any questions to the planner for members of council? I believe that the applicant is on Zoom. Did you have anything that you wanted to add at this point in time?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councils. The planner has explained the proposal very well. I have only one comment that I did meet with the neighboring property owners before I started the zoning application, and this project was explained to the neighbors. And I have a comment in regard to, I saw in the report that it says that there is a eligible lot created on the back. there is no residual lot created on the back. The riparian area will be protected through a no construction zone that will be enforced through the development agreement. And similarly, the historic branch setbacks, those will be enforced through the development agreement as well as a no construction zone. And I have one more request. If council approves the application that capital lot levies be allowed to be collected at the time of the sale of the lots. And this is my request is because the interest rates are going way up, and secondly, that will help me reduce my project cost. And then additionally, the lots will not add any additional load to the infrastructure until the houses are constructed. So, and at the end, I request the council to approve the application. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Santok. Any questions from members of council to the applicant? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak on this application? And that is S222955. Okay, if council is ready to deal with it, I just wanted to see here. Okay, if we can have a resolution then to come out of the, oh, go ahead, sorry, Councillor Strang.
Madam Mayor, can I just have clarification? Was there a request? It was a little muffled there at the end. Was there a request that Santok was making or the applicant was making at the end?
Yes, the request from the applicant is that the capital lot levies for the individual lots, he's requesting that they not be collected until Santok, is it when something is constructed on site? What was the request exactly?
The request is that the capital lot levy be collected at the time of the sale of the lot.
At the time of the sale.
Sale of the lot. Thank you.
What did you say about, you spoke to the neighbor? I didn't quite get what you said.
Santok, can you just repeat what you had said about speaking to your neighbors?
So I shared my plan with the neighbors. There were no major concerns. I talked to the neighbors on the north side as well, and we met 2-3 times. And then finally they said that they are not interested in extending the road to that side. So that was the conversation final with them.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Is there anybody on Zoom who wishes to speak to this application? Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak to subdivision file S222955? Okay, I do have on my list here, I have a Sarah Richards via Zoom. And I'm
actually here because I didn't get the link.
Okay, so was there something that you wanted to add at this point in time, Sarah?
I'm just opposed to it, and he didn't contact me. I'm directly north of the property. So,
North of the property?
Yeah, and we didn't have a conversation, so he spoke to the person that's farther east, northeast, I guess. But he
Okay,
didn't.
so are you right on the corner there?
There's a road that
Yeah.
the Rokosh is owned between myself and this property.
Right. Okay, I know the property, so
Yeah.
the property to the north of the subdivision, so, okay. All right, so he didn't speak to you then?
No.
Okay. Anybody else in the audience who wishes to speak to this application? Any further questions from council to the applicant? If council is ready to deal with this application, I will ask for a resolution to come out of the public hearing.
Resolve the public hearing for S22-2955 be closed and the regular session of council be reconvened.
Matt, mover, please. Councillor Boulanger, second. Councillor Bazarowicz. Any further discussion? Hearing is, oh, go ahead, Councillor Strang.
With us not taking the money for the lot fees at the time, there's something that goes on through the municipality, do we get a lien or something? Or, I don't know. Or is it just something that
It's a decision of council. Administration doesn't usually recommend.
Are we voting on that too? Or is that
If
a
council
condition?
wishes to add the request from the developer, that would be an additional item that we would have to add in as part of the approval.
So it's not automatic approval, so we don't, as it's being introduced here, we won't be voting on that part of it, unless we add it.
Unless any council member or council decides to add that as an item.
I need to have some clarification here, I'm afraid. Is there a Roger Hominick in the audience? Were you here for the subdivision on Ferry Road, or were you here
No,
for?
disregard, I put my name
Signed it on the
down
wrong sheet? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. The council is asking if you had a question that you wanted to ask the developer.
Not really, I
No.
just,
Or did you want to say why you were against it, or just?
well, I did at the last meeting. I just feel like it doesn't fit with the feel of the community. It's too dense. I feel that there's gonna be way too much traffic for Ferry Road. It's such a narrow road to begin with. And I just don't wanna look at streetlights. It's gonna change my property drastically.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, do we have to amend a resolution regarding the?
Not necessarily, Madam Mayor. The council can direct that the issue gets addressed as part of the development agreement, and then it can come forward at that time.
Okay, thanks for
So
that.
we won't deal with that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we came out of our public hearing on this application, so if I could have the resolution to move forward, please.
Regarding subdivision application number S22-2955, proposal of Arctic Infrastructure Inc. to subdivide lot 78, plan 13052, and parcel 8, plan 14886. Resolved that council approve the said application subject to the following conditions. 1, applicant owner submit confirmation in writing from the chief administrative officer of the municipality that A, taxes on the land to be subdivided for the current year plus any arrears have been paid out, development levies and administration fees to be paid as per bylaw 14 of 2009. Digital copy of plan of subdivision be submitted to the RMSA minutes. D, a grading plan be prepared to indicate positive drainage on proposed property to the satisfaction of the RMSA comments and to ensure that the proposed property does not drain onto or impede drainage from neighboring properties. E, an engineered paved road plan constructed as per municipal servicing standards. F, install and extend the sewer and water services to the proposed lots. G, enter into a development agreement to address items including but not limited to, if required, an engineered paved road and drainage plan, easement plan, if required, installation of street lighting, installation of extension of municipal water sewer system, letter of credit for road construction. And then 2, applicant order obtain variances for undersized lots from the Red River Planning District. 3, applicant owner submits written confirmation to the RRPD from Manitoba Hydro and Centrogas that easement agreements has been entered into with Manitoba Hydro with respect to the existing and future facilities associated with the subdivision, and a plan of easement as required by the Real Property Act. It has been provided. Registration of this agreement will be included as a condition of the final certificate of approval. Contact Manitoba Hydro for that. Applicant owner submits written confirmation from Bell MTS that an easement agreement has been entered into with Bell MTS with respect to existing and or future facilities associated with the subdivision of a plan of easement as required by the Real Property Act has been provided. Registration of this agreement will be included as a condition of the final certificate of approval. 5, applicant owner submits confirmation from Drainage and Water Rights Licensing Branch of Manitoba Conservation and Climate that the applicant has satisfied all requirements from that agency as detailed in their correspondence from May 17th. These included required approval of an engineered drainage plan, approval of a hydraulic design calculations, and obtaining a water rights license. 6, applicant owner provide written confirmation from Manitoba Infrastructure and Transportation that either drainage is not an issue or that the applicant has adequately addressed any potential drainage issues. The applicant will have to provide Regional Technical Services Engineer Rob Krang at Manitoba Government Manitoba sufficient information to ensure drainage from this development would not adversely affect the provincial highway system. 7, applicant owners submit decommissioning from septic holding tank, disposal fields, and sewage injectors to the local environment office to confirm completion. Application guidelines forms can be obtained from Manitoba CA on site.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Strang seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, the next application we have is actually a bylaw for second and third reading, and that is bylaw number 7 of 2022. And Femi, do you have anything on that? You should do. Thank you. Oh, go ahead.
Resolve the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for bylaw 7 of 2022.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Orbis, second. Councillor Strang, any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, carried. Okay, so if you can just walk us through bylaw number 7 of 2022, Femi.
So council, this is a secondary plan amendment application for BL 7 2022. The location is now is a text amendment to the secondary plan. The proposal is to refine the East Southeast secondary plan policy of 4.6.2.2 to now read as new lots and subdivisions should be of a size that can accommodate an on-site wastewater management system in compliance with the provincial standards. The proposed amendment is to allow a septic field or tanks to be installed if they meet provincial requirements without needing to meet a 2-acre minimum. Current text only permits on-site wastewater management system if lots meet the 2-acre minimum. However, province may only allow a holding tank for 2-acre plus lots due to soil quality or environmentally sensitive locations, or may allow a septic field on a lot that is less than 2 acres. This does create some inconsistencies. This amendment does not propose to alter any land use, designation, or properties. RRPD notes the following. Proposed secondary plan amendment is consistent with objectives and policies of the regular planning or regular development plan. The general intent of the second plan is to provide direction for future use of land. However, while Manitoba Environment, Climate and Craft is not in support of the proposed amendment, RRPD believes the amendment provides a level of flexibility and consistency. RRPD recommend that Council should give it a second reading and possible third reading. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any questions to the planner on the application for rezoning? Okay, I see the applicant is in the audience. Do you have anything that you wanted to add to your application, Mr. Gores?
No.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from members of council to the applicant? The council. Right. Okay, so if you are ready, then we can give it second reading. Do we have to?
Yeah, we have to close it.
Okay.
Resolved that the public hearing for bylaw 7 of 2022 be closed and regular session of council be reconvened.
Madam Mover, please. Councilor Bazarovich, Councilor Strang seconds. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so if council is ready to deal with this zoning amendment, we can give it second reading. And I believe because there is no objections, we can also have a third reading this evening. Correct? Thank you.
This will come later in the agenda.
Oh, okay, right. All right, so the next one we have then to go back into a public hearing is bylaw number 8 of 2022 on Byers Drive.
Resolved that the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for bylaw 8 of 2022.
Madam Mover, please. Councilor Horbis, Councilor Sutherland seconds. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, so bylaw number 8 of 2022 is to rezone a property. And Femi, if you could go ahead, please.
The next item is the zoning bylaw amendment, BL 8 of 2022. It's on St. Peter's Road, road number 42600. The intent of this proposal is to rezone the subject property from RA, which is suburban residential, to RS, service residential, to accommodate the future subdivision. The table shows the RS bulk requirement in terms of the side yards, height of building, site area, site width, and others. This map shows the subject site and the surrounding area. That's the zoning map that shows what the site is currently zoned, RA. This is a subdivision map that was submitted by the applicant under subdivision file S222944 that was approved during the last meeting. RRPD notes the following. This application is in fulfillment of condition 7 under file S222944, which required the zoning of the subject property. Proposed zoning is compatible with existing pattern and land uses with no potential conflict. Location supports infill plots in areas private service, municipal water and wastewater services, and total infrastructure and transportation requested. The internal road system be connected to Bayers Drive for efficient road network circulation. RRPD knows the following too. Other commenting agencies generally note no concerns with the proposed bylaw amendments. We recommend that it could be approved if council wishes. That completes my presentation.
Thank you for that, Femi. Any questions to the planner from members of council? And this one is for first reading, if I remember correctly. Okay, is the applicant in the audience this evening? Did you want to speak to your application, please?
It's very well described in the report. I'm just going to add that we have applied for the historic branch permit and we hired our archaeological firm, and they pulled the permit and they plan to start full work during long weekend. So that part of the interest, I don't see it. And other than that, we'll discuss the approximately. Unless there's new concerns or new information, there's not much I can add to this one.
Okay, thank you for that. And depending, there are a few names on my list here, so I will give you an opportunity to end off the conversation once we've heard from everybody else.
Okay.
Okay, so the first name I have on my list is Leona Wilson. Did you have anything that you wanted to add, Leona? I know that you're in the audience here, so.
Nothing further than what I put down. I still don't think 17 lots on that small parcel of land is doing anything for,
Okay, and I'm just gonna remind everybody in the audience that the subdivision has been approved, and this is just the rezoning part of it. So the subdivision is not going to change. This is to rezone the property from its current zoning to RS.
Yes,
Yes.
correct.
So, I just wanted to make that clear, because if some people in the audience are thinking that there's an opportunity that council will not approve the subdivision, we're past that point. The subdivision has been approved by council.
And when did that take place?
Last meeting.
At the last meeting, so a month ago, end of May.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Leona. Madeline Millen, do you have anything that you want to add at this point?
No, actually, I just want to know when is he gonna start doing it?
I'm not sure. That's something, if you want to hang around, he may tell you at the end when he's going to start working on it. Robert Hunt. I don't see Robert. And I am sorry for mispronouncing this name, Isla Warren.
That's probably.
Oh, that's probably yourself? Sorry about that. Ilya, sorry about that, Ilya. Okay, anybody else in the audience who wants to speak on this rezoning application? Was there anything that you wanted to add now that everybody has spoken on this one, Ilya?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We just to answer that question, we're looking to start as soon as possible.
As soon as possible, okay. Anything else from members of council? Okay, and this is first reading, so if we come out, we'll do the resolution after.
We'll do all the bylaw resolutions together.
Thank you.
Resolve the public hearing for bylaw 8 of 2022 be closed and the regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Bazarowic, Councilor Boulanger seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, so that takes us down to conditional.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to make sure it's right. It's the second hearing, it's not the first hearing. Is it first hearing?
It's the first reading of the bylaw for the rezoning.
Second reading.
Oh, second
Second
reading.
one.
Okay. So then, because there was no objections, we could give it second and third reading later this evening?
There wasn't sufficient.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We will move on then to conditional use number 4 of 2022. Now, I guess I'm going to ask for a little bit of clarification. I see a number of people have put down to speak, but this is not the public hearing, right? Or are we reopening the public hearing?
The public hearing was never closed, we adjourned.
Okay,
Yeah,
we have just,
go back.
okay.
Go and see
So
if
all the
there's
people can
changes.
speak here if they so wish. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to ask you to go through conditional use number 4 of 2022. Please, Femi.
Well, before we go there,
Oh, we better make the resolution to move into the public hearing.
resolve the regular meeting be adjourned and the public hearing be open for conditional use 4 of 2022.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Sutherland, Councillor Spicer, seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and carried. Go ahead, Femi.
The conditional use approval, I just want to let the council be aware that this application is coming back. It was heard during the April meeting, it was heard during the May 24th meeting, and it's coming back this evening. So this is more like the third time. So this application is on Kobe Road, road number 425-300. The intent is to allow a multi-family residential development on a property zone area, suburban residential. This conditional use application proposes to allow multiple buildings consisting of 124 units on the separate property. That map shows the subject site and the surrounding area. That's the applicant's site plan that's submitted to the RRPD. This is a landscape plan as submitted by the applicant. Should council wish to approve this application, RRPD recommends 3 conditions. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Femi. Any questions to the planner for members of council? Okay, I'm going to ask if the applicant is in the audience this evening. Can you come forward and let us know what has changed since the last meeting, please?
Okay. I'm the applicant, Brian Mansky.
Thank you.
And since the last meeting, we have looked at the plan further, and the direction of my client to reduce the unit count to 110. I have, this is all fairly fresh. If you wish, I can provide updated site plans to everybody for their use. Good.
Thanks, Steve.
What you have in front of you is a revised site plan showing 110 units. These are all duplex units. So we removed the stacked units from the north end of the property, the 28 units that were there, replacing them with duplexes. What I've also shown on this is approximately what the distance is between the units and the next adjacent houses. The house that's to the west, we approximate that there's about 88 feet from the corner of that building to the corner of our first unit. And then to the building directly to the east of that west house, it's about 140 feet. I got 141 feet here, so it's about 140 feet away from the next building there. Then we look at the house that's on the east side, and approximately there we've got about 76, 78 feet between buildings at that point.
What was the second measurement you gave?
Second measurement I gave is, and look at this, it looks like it's 141 feet. It's from the building, the house on the west, to the first duplex directly adjacent to it on the east.
Yeah.
So there's a bungalow duplex there, the very first unit. You come in on the right-hand side of the road. Yeah. So we've got a large spatial separation.
The site plan, just so that the site plan, if we bring up.
Can you bring up the site
No,
plan?
I don't have it. This is my
Not
first
the-
time.
No, the old one.
The old one.
The old one still.
The roadways, everything are the same. All we've adjusted is the units that are on the extreme north end of the property. So I've taken that and I've replanned that so that we can fit in duplexes along that side.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to advise council and all of the people that are here on this application?
Well, there is more, but I have another presenter that has more information and wishes to offer. I'm
Okay.
showing you what the planning has done that, as I said, from the house that's here to that point there. That's where I said it's about 140 feet from this house to that one. It's about 88 feet from this one across to the corner of the first house over here. This has all been replaced. The roadway's in the same location, but all of these stacked units have been taken out, replaced with duplexes. I've moved these ones slightly forward and these ones slightly backwards just to make 110, and we've managed to get one unit in, tucked away into the corner here, so that gives spatial separation. Spatial separations we're maintaining along the west side here is a minimum of 12 feet between the units. Same with, I spread some of these units apart further to give them larger spatial separations. These are all sitting, again, with about 12 feet between the units. So I've managed to spread things out a little bit more, relax the spatial separations a bit. I've also, in my plan, we have intertwining sidewalks through here. I've also planned that we have space to put a sidewalk in along our property line from the east all the way to the west, conjoining with sidewalks that would lead into the property itself. So our development has its own sidewalks.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions from members of council to the applicant on this part? Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
So the units to the west is still the same amount? Used on the west side of the subdivision?
There is, because when we took out when we took this out, we also took out its parking lot. So the units, there's the same number of units, but they have been pushed backwards because we lost, we didn't have a parking lot at the end. So we managed to push the units back further and space them from 10 feet to 12 feet.
Thank you for that.
Go ahead, Councillor Horvis.
On the west side, the buildings, what's the distance from the building to the property line?
Had a dimension on there. They're at least 20 feet.
20 feet?
I believe so.
That's from the back of the house to the property line?
Yeah, that from the back of the house to the property line.
Because
When you're doing spare land condos, this lot has, as a bare land condo, it has a front yard, and it has a rear yard, and these are two side yards. So under that, as an entire development, your zoning requirements are 15 foot for side yards, 25 foot for rear yard, and then there's about a 50 foot or something front yard requirement off Colville. So this one unit over here, because it is sideways, it is parallel with the property line, it is sitting on the 15-yard setback.
But that would be on the east side where you are.
That's on the east side, yeah. That one unit there on the east side.
The west side.
On the west side, we're at 20-foot separation between the rears and between those units and that. It's a 15-foot side yard requirement, but we have the units at 20.
Is there a fence? Do you have a fence in the back there that's separating all that? Is there
We haven't shown a fence. This area here is very densely treed. They taper off, the trees taper off towards the back, but this, over half this property is almost solid bush, almost solid trees.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
That 20-foot separation, does that start from the, I take it these are decks on the back of the houses here, or what are these little?
Those are decks on the
So
back of
that
the
20
house.
feet starts from the end of that deck or
End
from
of
the house?
the house itself.
From the house, not from
Yes.
the house.
And at the end of the main floor of the house, the second floor of the house is another, is about another 8 to 10 feet back from that. The second floor of the house is not at the back of the building. There's a one-story portion of the house that sticks out of the back, then it jumps to 2 stories.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question then, kind of following up to Councillor Sutherland's. you said that the measurement that you took, the 20 feet from the back of the house, is not from the back of the house, it's from the back of the deck.
Back of the house.
Back of the house.
From the
So
back
how
of the
far
house.
is it from the back of the deck to the property line?
Well, it's dependent on what size deck we end up putting on that. I mean, this is a preliminary plan. I'm discussing exact deck dimension that's in there. 6 to 8 feet deck to property line.
So then, Femi, can I ask you then if variations would be required if they are too close to the property line?
Definitely.
That's why I asked the question.
What is the requirement, Finny, from the deck to the property line?
If the deck is attached to the house, depending on the height of the deck, is taken as part of the house. So it's the side yard that 15 feet of the deck. But if it's, I think if it's 2 feet, then the side yard is taken close to the building face.
So from the deck to the property line, you'd have to have 15 feet of space there. That's what you're saying?
Yes.
From the deck, the back of the deck to the property line.
Yes.
So the deck, in essence, would only be 5 feet then?
That depends on.
Because if there's 20 feet there, right?
Yeah.
That depends on the size of the deck or what you propose.
If the deck is over 2 feet, if the deck is at ground level in height, if the deck is higher than 2 feet, then it requires to be within 15 feet. If it's below 2 feet, like a patio, then it can be up close.
15.
Okay, well, we do have a approachment issue there on the deck, on the height there, then we would put a landing there down below the surface patio.
So that's an issue.
Just wouldn't put the deck into those yards.
Okay, any further questions for Mr. Mansky? You said you had someone else that was going to do some presenting this
Yes.
evening?
Yes.
Okay, then if they want to come forward, we'll hear you folks first, and then we'll open it up for the people in the audience.
Thank you, honorable council members. My name is Preet Sandhu. I'll also be speaking on behalf of the client. So, as Brian has mentioned to you, the technical sizing and the measurement details and so on, I'll speak more towards the overall development and what we're hoping to bring to the table. So we started off initially, I believe, the application was for 128 units from.
I think originally it started at 168 and then to 124.
Okay, 124. So now we're, as Brian mentioned, we've deleted the apartment blocks, and we are at, we're asking for requesting 110 units to be the final number. We also made them all duplex units because typically for such developments, we usually do row housing, blocks of 4 or 5 townhomes. So we're saying we're okay with going with just duplex units all the way through. We still have shown bungalows towards the front of Colville. That's also to give a spatial separation from the road and to make to open up development somewhat. We want to reiterate that this development has always followed the secondary plan for the area. The issue at hand is really the conditional use. It's not overall development that we seek. We're asking for variance of the density. We have done our research with respect to such matters as have been brought up in past meetings. Traffic studies, we checked with the province of Manitoba, and they have no concerns, the traffic down Colville. Sewer and water has been looked at. We've already checked with the RM of St. Clements, and they have more than enough capacity to accommodate these units, 110. The drainage is not an issue. Our engineer, Dave Haynes, has looked at it closely. We have enough green space and retention ponds. We're not introducing any more flow into the system than would have been with the pre-development conditions. We'll have a fire hydrant on site. As you know, the fire department is right across the road, so that's a big plus. There's been some issues brought up with the roads, who's going to maintain the roads. So if we had gone with the original, without a conditional use, if we had gone with, I believe, 80 units on the site, we would have had to build public roads which would have been maintained by the RM. Under this plan, the property owner will be maintaining the roads, so at no cost to the RM. So we feel that's a big benefit. Also, the taxes, our calculations using the current mill rate and the valuation of these units, we estimate approximately about $300,000 in taxes year after year, which we feel will be an asset to the RM that the RM could use towards obviously developing the area and maintaining services. As far as the overall secondary plan, obviously these plans are looked at with professional engineers, province of Manitoba, the RM looks at all these issues that I mentioned already. We feel this development will be an asset to the area. The property owner, once he's here, that we're around, we're going to be neighbors and so on, and look after the property well and try to address concerns that the neighbors have. So we feel that that it's a good development for the area, and we would like to be a part of it.
Thank you. Questions to the developer from members of council? Go ahead, Councilor Borges.
Has anyone checked with the school board or anything? If there are families there, would they be able to look after all the extra?
We did.
And
there's no issues. The school board said there's enough capacity for the families. There's no issues there, yes. That was looked at.
You have that in writing or something, or?
I can get from the client, I believe. Brian, did you speak with the school?
No, Sid had spoken with them directly.
We can try to get something like, yes. But that was done, yes.
Okay, thank you.
The wording from the school board was that they strongly encourage development to occur in the village area.
And who said this and why?
Okay, hang on. Okay, so your question was answered. Any other questions for the applicant? Councilor Spicer?
So would you be amenable to signing a development agreement with the RM to deal with certain challenges that may be ahead of us, like, ensuring that the site layout stays the way that it is, as presented, and landscaping, snow removal, maintenance and management of infrastructure, the roads, water, sewer, land drainage, that kind of stuff?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Anybody else, questions?
I have one.
Go ahead.
And develop an agreement if we were to ask for a fence to be put in, especially on the west side. I know there's trees allotted for that, but I think a fence might be appropriate on the west side.
If it helps alleviate the concerns, for residents, we look at it definitely. Absolutely.
Okay, and I do have one question. On the map that we were, or the plan that we were just given tonight, and I think there was mention of some single-family residences in the front of the development here.
No, those are bungalow
Bungalow
duplexes.
duplexes. Okay, so are those the ones in the green here? There's 11 of them, I believe?
Yes. Right?
Yes, yeah, those are all, yeah, the green ones are all bungalows.
Bungalows.
Yeah, bungalow style.
Any other questions from members of council to the applicants? Okay, I'm going to go through the list. There are a number of people that do have some questions or concerns here. So you and Mr. Mansky will both have an opportunity to come forward and answer any of the questions or concerns you may hear at the end of your presentations.
Thank you.
So I am just going to go on my list here, and I'm going to go in order. So the first name I have on my list is Horace Welk.
I would just like to go on record to say that I see nothing here today that has fundamentally changed my arguments against on the first meeting going back to April. So I'd like to state that, and I strongly am opposed to this in its current form for that site. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Horace. Lisa Grimmelson.
I'm with Forrest on that. Also, is there a chance that we, the public, can also see the new proposed plan?
Mr. Mansky, can we pass around one of these plans so that the
No, we've got this
owners-
one, yeah, I
Is
left
that a
this one
color?
here.
But is that a color one?
Well, it's in grayscale.
I will give you this one so
Sure.
that they can see.
And also, when he was speaking earlier, did you say that the upper level is farther back than the main level?
Yes, on the 2 stories, the upper level is not at the back of the unit, it's over.
And how much farther back is that?
The plan in front. It was in the original brochure that we had sent around, and the plans that we had provided at the public open house showed the main floor, second floor. It's between 8 and 10 feet back.
No, so you said the first level, right? You said the upper level is farther back than the first level, right?
That's right.
So how much farther back from the first level?
8 to 10 feet.
How come you don't have an exact amount?
Because I don't have the plans in front of me, and I have to work on the plans every day.
Yeah.
It's back above the depth of whatever it would be.
I don't, yeah.
It could be even up to like 12 feet, but it is not, the point was, it is not even with the outside wall.
So you said,
Back is.
yeah, so you said the main floor, right in back of it, is 20 feet from this property line, right?
Yeah.
So then when you go up the level, it's an extra 10 feet back, so the upper level is 10 feet from this property line.
No, it'd be 30 feet.
30 feet.
Oh, it's going the other direction?
Yeah, no,
Okay,
it
that's
doesn't align with it, it's back.
Okay.
It's back.
Okay.
Where it's back into the house.
Okay. And who did you speak to about the school situation? Because I used to teach at Happy Thought, and when I was there, they ran out of classrooms in order to fit that many kids in that school.
Didn't speak to anybody specifically. I found the name, and one of the owners had talked to the superintendent. They got to the superintendent, and was told by the superintendent.
Which superintendent?
I don't know. If I have to go find a name that is necessary, I have to find it. But I don't know.
And I also, and this is the sidewalk that you put in here?
That's right. We had that sidewalk in as far back as the public open house.
And what is a micro pool?
Micro pool is like a retention pond, but much smaller. There is some water that could
sit permanently in micro pool.
Okay, so a chance for
Okay, I'm
mosquitoes to.
gonna stop you there. You're gonna have to address council and the chair
Okay.
and not have a conversation with the developer,
Okay,
sorry.
that's okay, that's okay. Yeah, so with the micro pool, that's definitely gonna have lots of mosquito infestation. My front yard is right there, so, yeah, that's kind of all I had. Still definitely opposed to this. Going from 124 to 110 is not a big difference in density size, I believe. And all my same points that I said in the last few meetings still stand on this.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, the next name I have on my list is Clayton Grimolfson. Have you anything you wanted to add?
Just, my point of view is still the same.
Okay.
The changes, totally don't agree with it. And, yeah, I stand with my daughter. I'm building a house right behind her, so I'm gonna have increased traffic, everything, you know, that's coming with this. And, directly opposed to it, for sure. I think it'll increase crime in the neighborhood. It's just, it's not a good thing. There's gonna be changing residents all the time. So, yes.
Well, I guess at this point in time, and in defense of no one, we don't know that at this point in time. These are not, as far as we know, low rental units. They are, I guess they are rentals, but they are not low rentals, or they're not subsidized housing, as far as.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that that's the case. It's just people changing all the time. And are they short-term rentals, long-term rentals? Nobody's really.
Well, perhaps when the applicants come back at the end, they can provide a little bit more information on that part.
I know, because some of these places you can rent for 1 month or 3 months.
Yeah. Some of them are month to month, but I don't know if that is the case here, but we can ask them when they come back.
And they don't have another plan where they could put, there's no plans for a subdivision at all. It's this or not.
We can ask them that too. I don't know that that is the route they want to go, but we certainly can ask them that. Okay? Laura Cook.
Well, I'm still opposed, completely opposed. If you look at this, anyone who looks at this compared to any of the other subdivisions that have gone up there tonight, it's just 100 times. Yeah, I would take any of you who don't want those 17 houses or whatever, put them here. But we're not opposed to development. It looks ridiculous compared to the other subdivisions that have been up there. It does not suit the area whatsoever. It was too dense. And I heard him refer to them as condos earlier, but they're rentals. Are condos considered, are rentals considered, are they condos? They're not owned by anyone except the
Condo corporation.
Yeah, but they're rentals. People can't buy a condo here. That's my understanding, right? They're just rentals. They're not going to be
As far
private.
as I know, they are rentals, and I am not sure what the intent is. I don't believe that, I think it was just a reference that was used.
Okay, so I just want to make that clear. When people hear condos, it's not like people are going to come in and buy a condo and invest in the area, and I understand it's not what they're considering local rentals, but rentals in and of itself is transient. It can be transient, and that's where the issues come in. Because people invest in the area to live there for years and get to know that's where we live. So, but still opposed.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Todd, have you anything further you wanted to add?
No, I'm just totally against this whole situation. We've been lied to from the beginning, from the developer, in so many different ways. He hasn't answered any of our questions right from the beginning. The school's already full. I know that for a fact. Our fire department, we haven't heard nothing from council about the $5 million or whatever it's going to cost to upgrade all the fire department for a situation this size. I'm just totally against it.
Okay, thank you for that, Todd. The next name I have is Julie Essex.
Yep, right here. Still opposed.
Okay,
Taking out 14 doesn't change it really.
thank you. Mark Corliss, not pronouncing, sorry.
I just had a question about the naming concern last time. Has that been addressed?
Which concern, sorry, I
The
didn't catch.
name for the development that was already taken in the community.
Oh, a
and-
name for the development, I'm not sure. Perhaps we can make a note and ask the developer when they come back up.
Other than that, money coming part of the state.
Thank you. Phil
Oh, Wilderman?
Wilderman?
That's close enough. Yes, I'm also still very opposed to it. I believe there will be, between the noise pollution, light pollution, the increased traffic, I will guarantee you there'll at least be a couple of drug houses in there. Because that's what rentals bring in, no matter what the price point is. And I said, the RM's not ready for this kind of development. No, it's bad news, I'll tell you right now. But thank you.
Thank you for that. Terry Harris.
Totally, absolutely, 100% against this. This is absolutely insane, putting that amount of houses in 11 acres. The secondary plan, as I've already stated in my summation, the first meeting we had, shows or states in there that the no subdevelopment, and I'll add live here a little bit, no subdevelopment or development such as this shall hinder or make worse any road conditions or safety issues that primarily exist. We all know for a fact that this corner is an absolute death trap. All right? So there's number one. Secondary, 200 and something odd cars going to turn up and go out onto this road here. Right now, we've had police officers comment, not at this particular time, but previous summations that were brought forward, that have come pretty close to being hit on this corner in police vehicles. And they're not having their emergency lights and stuff on. This is just people screaming up and down this road. So there is a danger there. We all know it. We've all been there. We've all heard it. Okay? You're planning on potentially putting 200 vehicles out onto that street, onto that corner. School buses, kids walking back and forth to school. We've had the gentleman here turn around and say, oh, it's going to bring $358,000 in taxes. What's a kid's life worth? $358,000 a year in taxes? This is not about taxes here. This is about people like us who have put a long-term investment into our homes and into our properties along this street, and we're going to get something, potentially get something like this come along and sit right next door to us. I've been here 40 years. This is an absolute disgrace to even have this promoted to be put into here and even considered putting in this. Once again, going back to a previous time, when another developer wanted to put something in there, that developer was telling council what they were going to do. Isn't it about time council told the developer, this is what we're planning, this is what the secondary plan is, and enhance the secondary plan in its entirety. These houses have to be similar to the housing that's already here. It already says that in the secondary plan. Maybe the planning board forgot to mention that to the developer. I don't know. But it states it in that secondary plan, and it's in that piece of paper that I sent into council the last time.
Anything else?
Oh, you don't want to hear what I got to say.
Thank you, Terry. Jared Fawcett, I think it's Fawcett.
Yeah.
Anything more you wanted to add?
No, just reiterating everything that I said last time. Quick question about the micro pool though, on the west bottom corner of on the site plan there. How close is that to the property? I don't know, I'm not sure whose property that is, but like, we get a high water year like we did this year, how wet are they gonna be? How wet's their foundation gonna get?
So you're talking about the one at the front?
Yeah, the front, bottom,
Yeah. where-
micro pool.
Micro pool?
It seems like, just looking at the drawing, it's right on the property line.
To the property,
And
the
looking
property
at,
to
and
the
looking at the
west.
house, yeah, correct. Would be the southwest corner. Looking at that house to that micro pool, they're gonna get a whole lot of water issues. There's some pumps gonna be hammering the whole time, and then, again, I'm not sure whose property it is, but now you're affecting somebody else. You're affecting somebody's home.
Okay, anything else,
Um,
Jared?
Again, just with the fire, as somebody else already said, and the gentleman said the last time, where are we gonna get this money to pretty much rehaul our whole fire department? We're gonna get so many new apparatuses, engines, again, we don't have the manpower or the equipment, not saying that our fire hall is
Madam Mayor, can I
inadequate.
address the fire?
Yeah.
There was a comment made by someone who had not, who's making comments about our fire department. Our fire chief did take a look at this and didn't have any issues. And so I think, and to come to a conclusion that there's $3 to $5 million of investment, our fire chief has not requested for that. And, you know, we have a counselor who's also a firefighter. There is no requirement for ladder trucks for 2-story buildings.
No, I'm not saying ladder trucks, but there's gonna be more engines, because you have tankers can't pump water. We have one engine.
This is serviced by water, sir.
Yeah.
We have water hydrants in this area because this is a service
Yeah,
area.
but I'm just saying, we have one engine.
We have
That's
6
what I'm saying.
actually.
We have multiple fires, we have one engine.
We have 6 engines.
We have 6 engines.
We have 3 fire departments too.
Yeah.
And we also have mutual aid with
Yeah.
other fire departments.
Yeah.
So I think that, I really want to make, like, you know, I appreciate all the other parts, like, the residents have that right, but to make the comments about the RM's fire department and what needs to be done, I can tell you right now that this type of development has been discussed with the fire department chief. The developer contacted the fire department chief, is not saying that he needs more resources, more firefighting power, or anything to that regard. So to have somebody else from another fire department, from the city of Winnipeg, to make that kind of comment is inappropriate.
Well, I know him personally, so I'll probably go talk to him as well.
You can.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else, Jared?
No, that's everything.
Okay, the next name I have is Crystal Reschke.
Yeah, I'm still opposed to it as well. I'm like the safety part of it, the highway. And I don't understand the purpose of a traffic study. Like, it's almost like you almost need to do a traffic study after the fact, but the traffic is going to be heavier for sure. And that's my biggest concern, is the safety part of it. It's already scary, even driving onto Colville Road, never mind walking. So I'm still opposed. Thank you.
Thank you. The next name I have is Mike Milena.
Well, I'm the gentleman who lives just to the west of this development, and not only will I be impacted, I don't even know where to start, so negatively, it's not even funny, not just the other people in this room, but myself and my neighbors. This is ridiculous. The size and scale of this is ludicrous for the area, for the community. I appreciate the fact that he might kind of sort of think about putting in a fence, but there'll be no need for a fence, because there'll be a 30-foot high fence that'll be 16 or 1,300 feet long along the property line on both sides. It's ludicrous. It is absolutely ludicrous. And that's it. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you for that, Mike. Kim Orvis.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
So we've been talking a lot about the plan, and I read it over before, but I read it over again tonight just to make sure. And the one thing that did stick out to me that's in the plan is respect and fit the existing rural village character of East Selkirk. That's not a rural characteristic at all. Also too, the planning board itself did say, under their options, sorry, I did bring my glasses. Will this be compatible with the general nature of this surrounding area? Again, where do we have townhouses in this number, in this area? If we let this come in, we're just opening up a can of worms, and this will be everywhere. And this will no longer be a rural area. So, and that would go against the plan, for sure. Also too, I was interested to notice that in the map of the plan, it shows that I should be having a development in my backyard, which, of course, anyway.
Thanks for that, Kim. Okay, I do not have anybody else on my list, I don't believe, but I will ask if there is anybody else in the audience here who wants to speak on this application.
Can I just add one more thing?
Sure.
So they did put in a sidewalk there, but I live directly across the street from that. That's not gonna help my daughter at all when she's walking to school, because that would just make it worse. She would have to cross the street, which is already busy, walk down that sidewalk, and then cross back over. So she'd be crossing the street twice. And I wouldn't, that's more dangerous than her just walking along the side of the road. So adding that sidewalk doesn't really make a difference to the help of the pedestrians walking on that corner.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, I don't believe that there's anybody on Zoom that is wanting to speak on this application. So at this point, I'm going to ask the developers to come back in and and I believe that you've heard all the questions and comments from the neighbors in the area. So if you wanted to address some of them, I think one of our counselors has taken some notes here if you don't have them all, so.
Well, traffic is, I guess, one of the big ones. The traffic issue is concern for him. I guess that goes hand in hand with the safety.
And that goes hand in hand with the traffic study and with us approaching the province, providing them with our site plan, with that had substantially more units on it, so potentially more traffic coming to it, and getting a response back from the province saying they don't have any concerns with traffic into this area. Traffic is in a urban speed setting. If speeding is a problem, that is an enforcement issue. If you have a dangerous intersection, that would be cured with either a marked crosswalk or a stop sign or something to prevent. That's what we generally do. We get an intersection becomes busy, you put up a stop sign, and next step you put up lights or a traffic circle, something to relieve the pressure at an intersection that changes over time. Certainly getting people to observe the speed limit is important, but I think the people that are right downstairs there, that the vehicles are out in the back, they can sit there and police what speeds are being utilized on the street in contravention to the posted limits. Anything else on that? Safety? I mean, we put in sidewalks to get people off the roads. Putting in the sidewalk does not hamper safety. I mean, we're providing more safety by providing sidewalks within a section. I mean, there's quite a noted mark of absence of sidewalks through the whole village. We're putting sidewalks in with our plan.
The term of the rentals, people were concerned, how long people will be signing a lease or a rental for? Is it month to month, year to year, 3 years? What is it?
It's between 1 and 3 years. And they're by no means low-income rentals or anything of the sort. These are designed for families, working families with decent amount of income. So they're not low rentals.
The term condos is also brought up or used. Is there any?
Oh, I believe Brian mentioned bare land condo at one point, just to describe the type of, because each unit has a piece of land underneath it, so.
It's the methodology that on how you apply what is a front, rear, and side yard, how you plan out a multifamily, whether it's and condo is a method of ownership, but we use it as a method of planning. That as I was explaining that there is only one front yard, and that's on Colville. There's one rear yard. It's at the north line. And both the other ones are considered side yards. It's not that if we applied a front yard, rear yard, side yard to every single unit, then we're doing that because we created a public street.
So just for clarification, these are all rental units?
Absolutely.
They're not turned into condos or for sale or ownership?
No, they're rentals.
Okay. Has the owner considered plans for a subdivision? Somebody had mentioned that. Would there be any interest in doing plans to do a subdivision here and putting, I don't know, 20 or 30 houses in there, if that's the case?
This developer at this point in time is only interested in developing rental properties, building up a corporation for the extended family that includes a portfolio of rental units, be it residential or commercial.
Right, and the acquisition cost of the land, the cost associated with putting in all the infrastructure and services and so on, it just will not be feasible to have 20 or 30 houses on that.
He's not in a position to capitalize on building a subdivision and the time it takes to sell a subdivision.
I guess the fire department, we've kind of went through that already.
Yeah.
Okay, the name of the development, is there a name for this development?
The name hasn't been suggested.
So there's no name for it yet? The 110 houses, or I guess duplexes on 11 acres, that was an issue, I guess.
Just 55 buildings.
55 buildings? Taxes, you're seeing that the RN would get in, I don't know, $300,000? I don't think we came up with that number, did we?
It's an approximation.
They know the numbers of the value of their property that we would have let out an estimate.
Yeah, you use the value of each unit based on the market value and then apply the mill rate. So that's how we came up with that.
Okay, so what would the value of each unit be roughly?
We approximate about 300,000.
300,000 per unit?
Per unit. 3 bedroom, 2 baths with cash garages, basements and decks.
And then there was the question about the micro pool at the front of the property. Would that drain into the front ditch? Or
It does.
how does that work there?
Okay, so the 3 ways that you're going to drain a property is you can just take all the water and send it to the ditch. Problem with that is now that we've created more hard surface over a piece of land that was a lot of soft land, we don't have the same amount of percolation rate or soak-in rate into the land that it originally had. So runoff off the roads and off of the roofs and that hit the land, and that combined amount of water on hard surfaces would hit the ditch much faster than it is as a current field. Notice that as a current field right now, it does have 2 low spots, so it is doing its own micro ponding, but it's doing its own what we call storm detention, just because there's 2 natural low spots. So the other way of draining land would be into a retention pond. There isn't enough land here to put up a retention pond safely. Not a great idea. So the third way is using a combination of detention ponds. So a detention pond would just hold the heavy, heavy water. Well, first of all, the micro pool may or may not hold some water, but it is separate from the ditch system with a restricted opening to it. So first of all, any sort of rain that happens that makes it through into the micro pool builds up, and when it gets to its banks, if it stops raining, it about an hour or two later, it releases that water into the ditch. If we get lots more water, like some of the rain we've been having so far, it backs up into the storm detention areas. So those are just low spots that are going to hold it for a short period of time until the micro pool has drained down and can accept the next bit of water, and then that finds its way out. So I've done some research on it, that it seems to be the viable solution for areas of this size, of this magnitude. The amount of land we've got and to work with and at, I've seen samples of quite a number of subdivisions that have been handled in this way. So I posed the question to our civil engineer, along with the, we do have the grades for where what the existing land is like. I gave him the sketch as to, and the idea as to how I want the drainage patterns to work based off of my research. He came back and he said, that's a really good solution. That'll work really well here. So we'll be working with our civil engineer, who he specializes in this type of work, to come up with a proper design to handle the water in an appropriate manner. What have I shown here? A preliminary drawing of the concept of how it can work. I don't have the exact sizes or water levels there because once we have it into a development agreement, I can get that engineer working on showing me what the real solution is to this. And I go back and forth with him because I got some background in drainage design as well, that we can, when I see his numbers, I can understand what he's giving to me and how it's going to be applied to this. And I'd like to see this work exactly like that. But there's not a lot of water sitting in the micro pool, and it is there primarily for high water times to retain that water and slowly release it into the ditch. Possibly slower than it gets there now. But we'll see when I see what his numbers come back as.
Thank you. One of the last question that I have here from the audience is that the respect, I guess, of the community and that what they were saying, how does this reflect on what's in the community, what's building here, and what they're looking for to keep it all, I guess, the same, coherent. You know, that's part of it here. They want to know how this is relating to, that's what I'm hearing from them, is how this relates to what's going on here with all the other houses that are going around here, as a village, not as, I guess, a rental community or whatever.
What we can say is that this is not single-family housing, so it doesn't relate to anything else that's currently going on here, because there is no multifamily housing proposed or built in East Elkwood. I'm right on that. There is. This is like a first-time proposal for this sort of thing. This was done based off of looking over your secondary plan, and while there is a statement in there that does talk about mentions the rural nature of the neighborhood, or the village as a whole, it also goes into great depth to describe the concept of affordable housing, of diversity in housing, of townhouses, duplexes, small apartments. It talks a lot about injecting multifamily style housing into the village. What it doesn't say is, where do you put it? Because if it pointed to one piece of land, well, if I own that piece of land, I kind of hold on to that for the highest bidder. But you know, there's no identity as to where this would fit within the village, but this is the direction the village is growing out towards the highway, and you know, we respected density in that in the southern part of the property, by putting those units further off the road and using bungalow-style units that are lower in stature, similar to the new houses that are going up. They won't be any taller than the new houses going up right now. And driving by on the road, the outward appearances of that southern part of the land is very similar to what is happening currently in other areas of the village. That if you step off the road and you drive into it, then you would get into an area that is higher density with two-story duplexes. However, we have strategically placed those units to provide, we're not providing everybody with their big backyards and their big front yards if they have a single-family house, but we've provided them with a lot of key green space within the area. There's a lot of yard space that can be used by individuals within that area from the community. We've got sidewalks walking through it and stuff. That the yard is not in their yard. Their yard is that whole piece in the back, the area that has to the east. That's a very large lot area that has the detention pond. Most of the time that's going to be dry. And that is a large area. Where roadway makes a crisscross, that is a long piece of green space, and we get that well landscaped up. When you come in, the trees are going to block the view of the rest of the units down the road. And putting roads at an angle, well, that changes the view. You're not looking at a roll of houses. You'll be looking at them from an angle, but they'll also have trees in front of them. So the avenue, you're not looking straight down, but you're looking at it from an angle as you're coming in. And you're going to, you get the effect that everything is spread out and a little bit more because of the way the trees are sitting in front. To me, like, I can visualize what this is going to feel like, and for a group of duplexes like this. It's a seemingly pleasant solution to the use of land. And of course, we have to deal with the bottom line figure as to what the actual development costs are, the servicing costs and everything are on it. So combination of the quantity of roadway we put together, the way we've situated the lots, and the quantity of units seems to be working within a business plan so far. Any other reductions in this could really have a detrimental effect on the business plan for finance. And as we are going through this, from the start of this to this point, and as we continue along, the financing rates are going up. The financing for this is not locked in place until there's a development agreement in place, and plans and everything sitting in front of the lenders, so that they can do their appraisals, and at that point, they'll say, here's your rate, here's what you're going to be paying for it, hope it works for you now versus when you started this 8-9 months ago.
Okay. One more.
Okay. This is my question. It's the roads inside there. How is that going to fit traffic? Like if there was, I know this is just for the people who live there, but if somebody wanted or got lost or came in there with a truck or something like that. Like the other day we had a meeting and they were talking about how the traffic, how it swings in there. Do you guys remember that? Yeah, we were talking about that. Will this be able to?
Oh, yes. I laid out the turning radiuses of garbage trucks and fire trucks in the
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Oh, yeah, that's a standard. Yeah,
School buses?
School buses, well, I'd have to look up what the turning radius of school buses, but the fire truck can negotiate a corner. Garbage trucks are a bad example because they can cut really tight corners. Their wheels are made to go extra tight because if they're picking up bins, they've got to get into tight spots. But there is a I've never been asked if the school bus radius can work in there, but certainly when we get to the back, I've left, if you look on your plan, you look at the like for example, the, what do you call that, that's the northwest corner. I've really flared that area out so that things can make it around. And then the other direction, I checked the radius there, and I do have room that I could take the roadway closer to the property line to get a little bit more turning radius, but the turning radius does work through there. The roadway widths are the same width as your municipal requirement for roads. They're all 24-foot wide roads. They're no different than what you would do.
Well, if this was to work, it would be a lot safer if school buses could come in here, then instead of the kids crossing the roads or doing whatever, it would save a lot of those safety issues if there were families in here.
Yeah, I can check into what just let me know what length of school bus you're typically using, and then I can check their turning radiuses, all that information together. I've done garbage trucks and fire trucks.
Okay, I think all the questions that were asked have been answered, but I am going to open it up for members of council now to see if they have any comments or have questions for
Or
the
one
developer.
more, did you want the name of who we talked to at the school? Is that necessary?
Yes.
Yes.
Jarrett Long.
What's that? Yeah, he is. Okay, questions or comments from members of council at this point in time?
I was just gonna say, the picture up on the screen, those are the ones that have been taken out by Bush, right?
Yes, those renderings,
Yeah.
those are the apartment blocks in the back that are deleted.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've altered this here and jostled these around.
So you didn't provide planning with the up-to-date plan like we got this evening?
No.
Okay, so what is the wish of council? I don't believe that there is anybody else that's going to be saying anything. I think we've spoken and everybody in the audience has had an opportunity to speak. So if council wishes, I will ask for a resolution to conclude the public hearing on this one.
Resolve the public hearing for conditional use 4 of 2022 be closed and the regular session of council be reconvened.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Vazzarowicz, second. Councilor Strang, any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. If council is ready to deal with this application, I believe that we have a resolution prepared. Just see if I can find it here. Go ahead, Councilor Sutherland.
We talked about a development agreement. When will we deal with that? Some of the issues.
Well, we heard council mention about development agreement and we were ready to
It's in there,
get
okay.
to the proposal or something for council to consider.
Oh, there it is now. Good.
Okay, so I will ask our CAO, that would be up to council if you want to deal with it, or if you require further information, or what is the wish? I think if it does move forward and a development agreement is required, it will take some time for administration to put a development agreement together to make sure that all the points that council is wanting in the development agreement are addressed in the development agreement. And I know that there have been a number of items that have come up, so.
And I'm not sure we have all the items listed here, so we'll read them and if council wants to add any items in the development agreement.
Okay, go ahead then.
Whereas the applicant owner of tax roll number 425300, a property legally described as Lot 5, Plan 13052, and located on Covell Road, has made application for conditional use 4 of 2022 in order to allow multiple buildings accommodating multifamily development, 124 units on the subject property, and we're going to change that now to 110 units on the subject property. Therefore, be it resolved, conditional use application number 4 of 2022 be approved with the following conditions. That the conditional use approval be limited to the multifamily development with 110 units as proposed within the application and information provided on June 28th, 2022. Any changes in use may require a new conditional use approval. Applicant owner to obtain all required permits, including but not limited to those at Red River Planning District, the Arm of St. Clements, and the Manitoba Infrastructure, Manitoba Conservation, and Climate and Environmental Compliance and Enforcement if required. 3, the applicant owner provide ability of the Arm of St. Clements Fire Department to access the property. 4, the developer enter into a development agreement with the RM to address a site layout of number of 110 units, including site and landscape design consistent with a proposal put forward during the public hearing on June 28, 2022. Tree and landscape design consistent with design shared at public hearing. The developer construct a fence, and the council want around the property, on the west side, east side.
West
On
side.
the west side. The developer construct a fence around the west side. The developer responsible for snow removal and any snow storage on site to the satisfaction of the RM. Traffic impact review to be conducted 1 year after complete build-out and address any safety issues with the RM. And developer responsible for maintenance and management of all on-site infrastructure, including roads, sewer, and water, and land drainage to the satisfaction of the RM. Approval shall expire if not acted upon within 12 months of the date of making. That's what we got so far from what we heard. Is there anything else the council wants to take into consideration?
There's no way we can lessen the units down from 110?
As the business plan just doesn't work, we've already done a significant reduction. But also, it's not gonna have any impact visually at all on the road. If you reduce it by a couple units, it's not gonna make any difference.
Appearances aren't going to change, and yeah, we reduce it, and we would just be leaving some holes here and there. The front end, the way it's done, the south end wouldn't change at all.
Wouldn't change.
We would be looking at the back, and the problem is if we have to reduce something, we have to reduce cost, we have to reduce roadway. And we're stuck with having that one road at the back. We took that road up, and reduction would make it not work. I'd have to lose 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 units would be the next step down to take the roadway up. At that reduction, you can't do it. So 1 or 2 few units doesn't change things because they're
I
on road
wasn't
costs.
thinking of 1 or 2, I was thinking about like more than 1 or 2 units.
Okay, anything else council wishes to put in the resolution? I have a question. We talk about this being a multi-family area. Is there any chance that it will become a condo subdivision in the future?
The property owner has no intention whatsoever. As Brian mentioned, they're a rental property developer.
It's part of a long-term plan for this developer to create this rental portfolio. So there's no short-term idea that things would be split down and sold off this number.
Okay, so then my next question would be, if this does get approved by council today, what are you looking at for a build-out time?
Well, that's you, because it's, it's weather. We're Yeah.
Oh, I know it's weather dependent, but, you know, is it gonna sit like it is for another 18 months, or do you plan on
If
starting?
we could get a permit tomorrow, we'd have machines coming in as soon as possible.
Right.
To start services.
Wait on the development agreement and then get our financing approved. More to go. So this year, for sure, we're looking at starting. That's it.
Okay, anything else from members of council?
Just a little correction, Madam Mayor, on item 4, which said developer entered to development agreement with the RM to address the following issues. It should say developer entered to development agreement with the RM to address the following issues, but not limited to. That's our standard term.
Okay, I think this is, for some of us, a very hard decision to make, but it's before us now, so the resolution has been read. I will ask for a mover, please. Councillor Boulanger, second. Councillor Spicer. Any further discussion on this application? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And it is carried. Thank you all for coming in, and thank everyone for your patience this evening.
I can see that.
And I will take a 5-minute break.
Yeah, you lost. Been on? Motion carried.
Boo!
Boo! Boo!
Morning stop.
Boo!
This place, that's for sure.
Boo! My vote will. That's brutal. Give them all the people engaged, eh?
Yeah, get them on the